find much time to explain things to you right now. This is an emergency. My daughter has a sniffles. I've just come back from the drugstore downtown, where I spent 45 frantic minutes trying to find the prescription department. Turned out to be next to the delicatessen. Every time I hear of the Nobel Prize being awarded for medicine, I think of the common cold.
For heaven's sake, John, did you remember to get the cough medicine?
Yes, dear. So far, the only progress made toward finding a cure to the common cold has been the totally inadvertent discovery that a hot rum toddy, taken occasionally, won't do a single bit of good, but it isn't a bad idea. However, in the case of juvenile victims, this method is frowned upon unless they can produce a driver's license. Has it ever occurred to you as a reflection on our civilization that no one in this country is allowed to become intoxicated until they've learned how to drive a car?
John, please hurry with those things.
Yes, dear.
John!
Step into my world. And welcome to it.
A drug addict was controlled.
As you can see, my daughter Lydia is very uncomfortable, very miserable, and very weak. But she still has exceedingly strong teeth.
Oh, Lydia, now look what you've done.
I'm sorry, Mommy.
As if I didn't have enough on my hands this morning. I have to do the marketing, and your father will probably come back from the drugstore with hair tonic or something instead of cough medicine. And he'll have that faraway look in his eyes, and he'll tell me he was working on a story.
If Ellen had been married to William Shakespeare, she would have shouted at him, "William, why must you always pace up and down like that, muttering to yourself, to be or not to be, to be or not to be? Why don't you get a job in a butcher shop like my brother Max?"
John, did you remember the cough medicine?
Oh, of course.
Well, how is the patient? Out of the coma, I see, huh? Just a teensy-weensy little lobotomy, and never you fear, once again you shall play the glockenspiel in Carnegie Hall.
Hair tonic.
Hair tonic? Well, the label was so much like the, was on the same shelf next to the...
John, I love you, but how a man can be so scatterbrained about everything, I just don't understand. No siree indeedy. John, did you hear me? John?
There he goes again.
John, I have to get to the market. Would you take Lydia's temperature?
Mm-hmm.
And I left some clothes soaking in the wash tub downstairs. Please remember, in about 5 minutes, to go down and turn the water off.
Miss Surrey and Didi.
I'll remind him. Daddy, are people who see things and daydream, well, are they normal?
No, they're much better than that. Why, for heaven's sake, they're the artists, the poets, the bums, the cream of society. They get a lot more out of life than normal people. Well, for one thing, they're never lonely or cold or hungry. Because they've got their imagination to keep them warm and to keep them company. And don't you believe for a minute that because they see things that you don't, that those things aren't there. Now,
Daddy.
This proves the point. Look, cough medicine, right on the other side of the paper bag.
No, I don't want it. It tastes awful.
Did I ever tell you about a man I knew once who looked up from his scrambled eggs one morning and saw a white unicorn with a golden horn cropping the roses in his garden?
What's a unicorn?
A unicorn is, well, here. Here. Let me draw one for you. I think it's better than if I tried to explain it. Now, this man, when running upstairs to the bedroom where his wife was still asleep, he woke her up, and he said, there's a unicorn downstairs in the garden eating the roses.
Gee, what did she say?
She opened one unfriendly eye and looked at him.
The unicorn is a mythical beast.
And she turned her back on him.
I would too.
So the man returned to the garden and pulled up a lily, which he gave to the unicorn. The unicorn ate it gravely. The man went running back upstairs, woke his wife up again and said, the unicorn ate a lily.
You are a booby, and I'm going to have you put in the booby hatch.
She was right.
When the man had left the house, the woman picked up the telephone and called the police. She also called a psychiatrist. Now, there was a definite gloat in her eye when she reminded them not to forget the straitjacket. The woman said to them,
My husband saw a unicorn this morning. He told me it ate a lily. He told me it had a golden horn in the middle of its forehead.
So the police grabbed her. And just as they got the straitjacket on her, the husband returned to the house.
And saved her?
Well, that's a matter of opinion. They asked him,
Did you tell your wife you saw a unicorn?
well, of course not. The unicorn is a mythical beast. So they carted her off, cursing and screaming, and the husband lived happily ever after. Obviously, it's a fairy story.
I don't like stories where the women lose.
Well, that's the only kind men write when their wives are not around. Your temperature is 118.
Daddy, did you ever have any relatives that, well, did they ever leave cursing and screaming?
Only in-laws.
There's an old lady who lives in a house near our school, and she's always hearing voices. Isn't that stupid? Sometimes we hide in the bushes and call out things to her, and she thinks they're ghosts.
I don't think you got the point of the story I told you before at all. You mustn't judge people too harshly just because they're different than you are.
What do you mean?
Well, here. Did I ever tell you the story of when I was a little boy and our house caught on fire when my great-grandfather was there? Great-grandpa Skinner had come to visit us. Well, not visit exactly. He lived outside of town with a male companion to take care of him, and when the male companion got his vacation once a year, Grandpa Skinner was farmed out to an unwilling relative. I can still hear his voice that night at the dinner table.
Up rose old Barbara Fritchie then, bowed with her 80 years and 10.
For Grandpa, the Civil War had never ended. We always had to keep him from freeing our cook.
Bravest of all in Fredericktown, she took the flag the men hauled down.
In his own mind, Grandpa wasn't reciting a poem. No. This was the latest news bulletin, and he was the Walter Cronkite of Columbus, Ohio.
In her attic window, the staff she set to show that one heart was loyal yet. Up the street came the rebel tread. Stonewall Jackson riding ahead. Under his slouched hat, left and right he glanced. The old flag caught his sight. Halt! The dust-brown ranks held fast. Fire!
My father sat next to him that night, starving. But I wouldn't have missed Grandpa at the dinner table for $1 million in Confederate money.
Quick as it fell.
My brother Roy's interest in history was no match for his interest in fried chicken. And when all the food was gone, I often noticed him eyeing me, as if wondering if I'd fit on a slice of rye bread.
Shoot if you must. This old gray head. But spare your country's flag, she said.
Oh, I find that very touching, very beautiful.
My mother also carried on like this over old dog Tray, Danny Deaver, and once about a slice of liver we'd forgotten to put in the icebox overnight, and she was afraid it was lonesome.
My saber. Doggone it. Who's gone and took my saber? I knowed you'd had it. Who touches a hair of yon gray head dies like a dog. March on, he said.
That was beautiful.
May I please have my saber back to cut my chicken? The war is over.
The war's over, is it? The war ain't over by a long shot. No, sir. I'm putting my money on Ulysses S. Grant.
If you find anyone to take it, let me know.
Roy. Let 'em laugh, Agnes. Let 'em laugh. Be a lot different when them Johnny Rebs ride up and set this here house on fire.
Oh, strange you should mention fires, John. Did you hear about that horrible Holocaust in Cleveland? 6 people burned to a crisp. They're sure it was an arsonist.
Mean somebody started the fire, Mom?
That's exactly what I mean, some demented, fiendish creature. And there's no telling where he'll strike next.
Grandpa, when were you in Cleveland last?
You leave Grandpa alone.
Oh, you shut up. I'll talk if I want to.
Stop.
Roy, you stop right there. Roy, now don't you upset John. You know how sick he is. Stop that.
Sick? He just wants to stay home from school and listen to Grandpa's crazy old story.
Now stop that. You march, young man. You march right upstairs to your room and you go right to bed. Go on.
I'll take him upstairs for you, Agnes. Give Johnny something for that coffee. I got some real smart stuff, slippery old bark in my knapsack.
Now, wait a minute. I don't want you feeding any of that witch's brew to my boy that you cooked up
in the
there.
Army of the Potomac. It's good enough for Abe Lincoln. It's good enough for him.
Did you really cure Abraham Lincoln, Grandpa?
Yep. President was deathly sick when he come to review us. Mr. President, I says, begging your pardon, sir, I got something here to cure that cold of yours. He took it. Today he's healthy as an ox. He'll outlive us all, old Abe will.
If he stops going those opening nights.
Never mind him. Good night, children.
Good night.
Take your blanket.
Watch out for my germs.
Come on, boys. March. March.
I don't know why you're so unkind to him, John. He is your grandfather.
I just don't think it's wise to have someone like him around the children. I say we'd all be a lot better off if that companion of his would take him on back home where he belongs. We have done our duty to the family.
Oh, he's perfectly harmless, and it's only for a short while.
How long did it take that house in Cleveland to burn down?
Oh, John, I'm glad you reminded me. I want you to get all the buckets we have and put a pail of water outside everyone's
But
door.
Agnes, there's no
No,
point
now
in-
listen, if that fiend strikes tonight, I want us to be prepared. That's
We
all.
are in a lot more danger from that old fool feeding nuts and berries to our son to cure his cold.
Don't change the subject. I want all our bathtubs filled. I want a pail of water outside everyone's room. You're going to thank me when our house burns down.
Bob Vila here.
That night, we were prepared for fire, flood, in fact, for everything but what happened.
I can't breathe.
Good. It's always darkest before the dawn, you know.
I think there's maybe too much steam. I think the wallpaper's coming off the wall.
Just a mite more. Just a mite. I gotta get you in good shape in case them Johnny Rebs get a notion to raid us tonight. I need you to help me stand them off. Your father won't be no good at all with a gun, I can tell you.
He's pretty good with a strap, though.
Well, we ain't fighting this war with no straps. It's lucky I'm prepared.
Wow! Have you ever used it?
Still warm from Gettysburg.
Boy, those Johnny Rebs will sure be in for a surprise if they attack us. John? John? Wake up! The house is on fire!
I know.
The fiend from Cleveland, he's here!
We're full all up. Tell them to try the YMCA. Fire! Fire! The house is on fire, woman. Fire! Fire! In the fire department! Fire! Fire!
It's Stonewall Jackson.
That sounds like Father! Fire!
Darn Reds, they got the drummer boys in the front rank.
That's Roy! Cleveland!
We'll get as good as we get. You give us the gold red head, but spare your perfect flag.
There's no fire! It's only the steam that threw my coal!
So when we're coming in if we have to break the door down?
No! No, don't break the door! We just put a new doorknob on! It won't open! Come back later, we'll have tea! There's no fire! Fire!
I'll break it down.
Oh, thanks! Fire! Fire! That's Grandmother's Sheraton!
I gotta break it before it burns. Roger, now you broke my best half. Johnny Red, charge! What are you squirting me for?
I think my cold's better.
It was very good of you to cut short your vacation and take care of him again.
Well, that's all right. I was surprised he got out of hand, though. Never happened before. If I'd have known that, I would have...
Let me help you.
You let me be. I've hiked 40 miles with more gear than this.
Got your horse and carriage outside? Be home and comfy in no time.
Glad to get there.
Goodbye. We'll come to see you real soon.
Of course you will. Well, so long.
Goodbye.
I never begged for anything before in my whole life, so I don't rightly know how to do it. But I gotta beg now. Could I stay here, maybe, for just a couple of days more? I'm sorry about what happened last night. I just got carried away with all that shouting and hollering. But it won't happen again. I'll behave myself. I won't shoot my mouth off one bit.
What about the way you were shooting that gun off?
That old 38? Nothing in it but blank cartridges. Never is, never has been.
You mean not since the war?
War? I was never in no war, Agnes. They wouldn't have me. I worked in a brewery in Cincinnati.
But, Grandfather, I thought...
One thing about being as old as I am, everybody who can call you a liar is either dead or a bigger liar than you are. And you're alone all the time. Except for Alexander, which is worse. A fella's got to make up some friends of his own. Abe Lincoln, he wouldn't mind. He's a pretty good storyteller himself. I never did see him except on a $5 bill. And old Stonewall Jackson and Ulysses S. Grant. Why, they don't mind none being around me all the time, like some of my relatives that hate to put me up once a year.
We don't hate you at all. We don't hate it at all. We really enjoy having you with us. Now, you know that.
So you call my warden to come and get me?
It's on account of the children. We were worried that, well, I was worried that perhaps that gun of yours might go off or something else might happen to Roy and John.
Why, I just make up all those stories for little John. He's the only one that lives in with me.
But, Grandpa, you must admit, last night you did get carried away.
Sure did. But it warn't me that kept a hollering, Cleveland, Cleveland! And who was it saw a mite of steam and leaned out the window yelling for the fire department? I guess when you come right down to it, all of us is just a little bit loony. Give us half a chance. But next day, you get over it. Comes morning. One thing you can't get over is getting older and lonelier.
I want to be Ulysses Grant. Now you're dead on Robert E. Lee. Grandpa, what's the matter? Where are you going?
The Johnny Rebs is on the run. In a few weeks, we'll be marching through Georgia to the sea. Gotta get moving.
But you're going to show me how to duel so I can stick Roy in the gut.
His guts will wait. These orders come from General Grant. Well, so long, boy. Say a prayer for me when I'm marching against the enemy. General Despair and his dark cavalry. Hurrah, hurrah, said the bedbug to the flea. Hurrah, hurrah, it's up to you and me. I'll ride him on the ankle and you ride him on the knee while he goes marching through Georgia.
Halt! Who touches a hair on yon gray head dies like a dog.
March on! March on, he said.
Learn pool from the best.
And Grandpa stayed with you for always and always?
Well, for as long as always can ever be.
Oh, I'm so glad. I wish he was still with us.
John, you never turned off the water. The service porch is flooded. What on earth have you been doing?
Daydreaming.
What about?
I was telling Lydia a story about her great-great-grandfather.
Daddy, look, look. There's a unicorn in the garden eating the roses.
Why, so there is.
What? It has a golden horn right in the middle of its forehead.
I think my cold's better.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Next week on My World and Welcome to It.